Well, we've been fishing for crappie, we've been fishing for muskie, we've been fishing for largemouth bass in the reeds over there, and now we're coming over to take a look for some walleye, but not using just any old technique. We're talking about a drop shotting. Now, you've heard about that in bass. You've probably even heard about it when we covered the Bassmasters Classic, which was one of the first places I heard about it, and we saw it and filmed it a little bit there. But you know, we haven't really been in a boat and used it any place. Jim, now you've been doing a lot of crappie fishing, of course, but you've been doing a lot of walleye fishing here on Chavanaugh Lake using the drop shot. I mean, that's we're talking about a bass technique that goes to walleye.
Yeah, total breakaway from crappie fishing.
Oh, you bet.
It was productive. It slowed down in the last couple of weeks, but we'll give it a shot and see if we can't get the fish and see if there's something cooperating to get something on the show. But the rig itself, it's very basic. There are many variations to it. You can take it to a heightened level and come up with beads and clackers, similar to what guys do with the Carolina rig. But to keep it very basic, this particular rig, it comes with all the components in a little kit. You have various lead weights. Right. And this piece of brass is probably one of the keys, besides the other key of how you tie the hook on. But we'll walk through it real quick. Yep. So that
should we start at the bottom end here?
Yeah, for just starting out, the angler starting out. Okay. You first quality hook. Always. Okay. You want a nice sharp hook. The baits, you can finesse it. You know, smaller Berkeley power worms, or you can go up to some of these baits here that are kind of eel-like. Almost like the action of a leech. Sure. Yeah. Or you can go with live bait, worms, minnows. A lot of combinations on the hook. Right, right. But the rig itself is pretty simple. You start out with a palmer knot to attach the hook to the line, to the main line. Okay, so that ties it right in the middle, so it doesn't slide up and down or anything. No. We're talking about it's locked in. No, it's you want a real good feel for the worm. And what you're going to do is tie the piece of brass at the very end, and then you just put a little bend to it to hold your sinker on. Now that's a pretty cool advantage. When we look at this here, what you can do is change weights quickly, I assume, Jim, is that correct? Well, you can change, and then also if you get snagged, you're losing just the lead weight, you're not losing the entire rig. Yeah, good point, because the weight would get snagged first, and then you could pull it off, start off, put a new weight back on, and ready to go. Or if you want to change, if you found it's too much or not enough, you can't contact bottom, just like vertical jigging in a river. Same idea. You want just enough lead that you can contact bottom. You don't want to overpower it and have too much that you can't now this has a swivel on it too, which is kind of neat, so it does spin away. You're going to be vertical jigging this around, and what the premise is that as the lead stays in place, you can bounce and wiggle this bait to attract fish that are in the area. Okay, cool. And then you can pick the whole thing up, go to another area, and do that whole sequence again. So this goes down to the bottom. Right. And then as we go up, and this can be adjusted anywhere you want to tie the knot. Now that's going to be something you have to determine on your own as to what level of activity the fish are at. They can be very tight to bottom, a 12-inch. I believe in the Bassmasters they were as high as 3 and 4 feet between their lead and their hook. Right. So we're keeping it very simple, very basic, and not tweaking it out. And then there are guys that go and put their glass beads and their worm weights here, so that as you're lifting and dropping this, you're getting a sound also. That's just not the movement of the bait, but you have that clacking. So it's another draw there. This goes up to the rod, so we're talking pretty much vertical fishing on this, right? Correct. So we take this, and this is, I think, the neatest part of all, because you don't necessarily bounce it around. I mean, you can just finesse this a little bit. Just a little wriggle and tip. Is that correct? I mean, just make that go. Right. And it's successful for walleye. And it's deadly with live bait, and it's also deadly with the artificials because you impart a lot of action. Sure. Yeah, you don't need just you're not waiting. It's not a waiting game. You can cover a lot of water with this. Now this here's like that little leech tail you're talking about. It undulates and swims. It looks alive, and it's very soft. You feel that plastic. It is very pliable. And the fish grab onto that. And great setup. And I like the idea of the swivel right here where you can change it quickly. But really, if a person didn't have this, they could go out and put another rate on it. Well, get on the bottom, what we started out doing before we came across this this little kit here is just putting split shot on there. Yeah. And then if you were just snagged into the rocks or to the weeds in a gentle, constant pressure, you would pull off. Very good idea too. But you did get a lot of line twist. What a simple system for some fantastic finesse. Oh yeah. Okay, I'm ready. Let's try it, Jim. I'm ready. Got one set up. Okay. And we'll give it a go.